Hello, and welcome to another look with Christian King. It is Sunday morning, February 3rd. I'm sitting down with a little bit of cold brew before I head into the office. I'll be back later today to do a UFC 234 breakdown preview show. Right now, I'm just doing a brief recap of UFC on ESPN Plus 2, Assunção vs. Moraes 2. These were great fights from top to bottom. This card was awesome. It was nonstop entertainment. I really enjoyed it. We're just going to start at the bottom and roll through some highlights real quick. Saeed Nurmagomedov had a nasty body kick TKO over Ricardo Ramos. Jair Rozenstruik defeated Junior Albini. This guy looks like he's very promising in the heavyweight division. We need more heavyweights that are good strikers. So I really am interested to see what he has. His ground game looks pretty green, but he managed to survive. After that, Thiago Alves defeated Max Griffin with a split decision that, let's be honest, Thiago Alves didn't win that fight, but I am so happy they gave him the decision. Once he started putting it on Max Griffin, I was screaming at the screen for him to get the win. I was cheering so hard for Thiago Alves. I really wanted him to win. He's been on some kind of tough times lately. It's in his hometown. So even though he didn't really win that fight, I'm glad they gave it to him. I feel bad for Max Griffin not getting his full money, though, of course. Then we had a terrible fight in the flyweight division. And then we had Marcus Perez defeating Anthony Hernandez with the arm triangle choke. Anthony Hernandez is a power striker, but he's very raw. He closes the distance too much when he strikes. Bisping commented on that. He just gets overzealous, and he doesn't know how to stay at his range, so he keeps ending up clenched up. That's how they ended up grappling. That's how he ended up losing. Opening up the main card, Liviana Souza defeated Sarah Frota in a split decision that she arguably didn't deserve to win, but once again, I was really cheering for her to win because first off, she's super badass and awesome, and also her opponent missed weight by 7 pounds and looks like she should be in the weight class above, so that's basically cheating in my opinion when you miss weight by an entire weight class, and you clearly shouldn't be at that weight class, but you're just going to be bigger than everyone and try and bully them. I'm really glad that girl lost, and I think they should cut her. UFC debut, you miss weight by 7 pounds, cut her. I don't want to see her fight again. Johnny Walker defeated Justin Ledet in 15 seconds. I need to talk about this one. Everyone is freaking out about the kick. Y'all are wrong. There was nothing wrong with that kick. Y'all are tripping. He was trying to throw a Luke Rockhold Costafilipu style kick where he's going to kick him across his rib cage as if his rib cage is a soccer ball. Justin Ledet rolled at a weird angle, and therefore the kick missed him completely, but it looked like it was more aimed at his head than his body. You need to look when Johnny Walker stepped and started to throw the kick. Where was it aiming at? It was aiming at Justin Ledet's body. That's all that matters. He wasn't doing anything stupid or illegal, and it didn't even land, so who cares? People are really freaking out about that. Johnny Walker has a lot of promise. I need to see how well he takes a shot, though, so I was hoping this fight would go a little longer, and Justin Ledet would get off some good counters, so we could see a little more about how durable Johnny Walker is. I definitely can't wait to see what's next for that guy. Charles Oliveira defeated David Taymor in a very weird fight filled with fouls and timeouts. David Taymor poked Charles Oliveira terribly in the eye with both fingers at the start of the fight and was rightfully deducted a point. And some people say, well, you shouldn't deduct a point if there hasn't been a warning yet. Yes, you should if it impacts the fight. That impacted the fight. That was a good call by the ref. Good job by the ref there. And then Oliveira got poked again a few minutes later, so he was really frustrated, so he just started coming after Taymor. They had some wild exchanges. He ended up hurting Taymor with a knee, hurting him more. Taymor turned his back. He was looping hooks around his guard, and then ended up tying him up standing in an anaconda choke, wrenched him to the ground, got the finish. Great submission by Charles Oliveira, and he puts even more distance between himself and Royce Gracie and Damian Maia, who are tied for second place now for the most submissions in UFC history. And also, interesting enough, for the first time ever, Charles Oliveira did not ask to go back down to featherweight. after this fight. So maybe he's finally realizing that he should be a lightweight after all. Sorry, this probably sounds terrible in the microphone, but man, that's delicious. Damian Maia defeated Lyman Good. Rear naked choke, standing. Once Damian Maia gets that squeeze on you, he has a true black belt squeeze. You're just not going to survive that. Lyman Good was smart to tap. That's not going to do you any good going unconscious and falling with someone else's weight on your back, face first onto your face. So good call by him for tapping. Man, what a great win for Damian Maia. You can't help but cheer for that guy. He's just the nicest dude in the world. A lot of good fighters to watch on this card, and they all came through and performed. So the 2 fights I picked, Jose Aldo versus Renato Moicano. I picked Jose Aldo to win a decision. He ended up stopping Renato Moicano TKO punches at 44 seconds of round number 2. This was a great performance by Aldo. In the first round, he was very patient, didn't take too many risks, but then as soon as he saw his openings, he started pushing the issue, and once he had Renato Moicano hurt, he just tore after him, ripping to the body, ripping hooks up top, had Moicano all types of hurt, and the ref stepped in before Moicano could actually get knocked out. That was a good stoppage. If anyone thinks that was an early stoppage, it's just one of those things where you got to understand that nothing was going to change. I feel like the Henry Cejudo Dillashaw stoppage, you can't say that nothing was going to change, because I think TJ, that fight was so early in, and I think that they could have gotten a scramble going and given TJ a second to clear his head. But in this fight, Renato Moicano is standing, and Jose Aldo has an angle on him and is just hitting him over and over, and Renato Moicano looks like he doesn't know where the punches are coming from, and he's not even attempting to clinch up with Jose Aldo. That's a good stoppage. Vintage win by Aldo. The highlight of the fight to me was Aldo jumps the fence, and he's on the apron that goes around the outside of the octagon, and he points to his right to misdirect the security guards. So they all look that way, and then he runs to his left and jumps over the railing and then runs into the crowd to what looked like a soccer team or a group of people that were all wearing the same soccer jerseys. Some of those people looked a little bit round to be soccer players, just to be blunt, so maybe they were soccer fans who were all wearing the same jerseys, but he ran and jumped in the crowd. What a great win for him. Great performance. I like how Aldo, he expected those calf kicks from Renato Moicano, and he was able to check those, but also I thought it was interesting to see Jose Aldo throwing calf kicks of his own, because he's known for the traditional leg kick to the meaty part of your thigh, your quadricep, and instead he was throwing them to the calf, which I thought was interesting. There's been a lot of speculation. Aldo was in a moped accident in Brazil that caused his fight with Frankie Edgar, his first fight with Frankie Edgar, to be delayed. And there's some conspiracies or thoughts out there that was right around the time Aldo stopped throwing as many kicks. So a lot of people think that moped accident down in Rio de Janeiro could have impacted his leg permanently. But man, his kicks look good tonight, I'll tell you that. All right, so let's get into the main event. I'm going to grab a little more coffee real quick, and we're going to get into this first round submission by Marlon Moraes. So, this fight, I picked Marlon Moraes to either win a unanimous decision or get the stoppage in the first round. And he got the stoppage in the first round. Now, I said it would be a KO TKO. He hurt Rafael Assunção, followed up, and then got the guillotine. So I'm still happy with that pick. I'm happy with that pick for sure. I think I had the right read on the fight, that Marlon was either going to end it in the first or it was going to go all 5. So there's not a whole lot to talk about in this fight because not a whole lot happened. Marlon threw 2 overhand rights, but like tight overhand rights, not haymakers, more like an overhand right hook, almost like the reverse of a right shovel punch, where you're kind of coming down at a slight angle instead of up at a slight angle. But he threw one that clipped Rafael Assunção on the chin, and then usually most fighters don't throw the same strike back to back, so Rafael Assunção probably wasn't expecting that, and he was hurt, so then he threw it again, and the second one hit him on the temple, ear area, so he hurt him to the chin, and then hurt his equilibrium, hitting in that ear area. Rafael Assunção goes down, and Marlon Moraes is all over him, following up with ground and pound, and then manages to lock in a guillotine. The best part of that guillotine was the fact that he did such a good job, and it's no surprise with his jiu-jitsu coach being Ricardo Almeida, who's famous for his guillotine, but he was able to control the lower body of Rafael Assunção so well, tying up Rafael's legs with his own legs, which prevents any escape being possible. If you have never seen the submission of Tim Elliott by Joseph Benavidez, look up Joseph Benavidez, Tim Elliott guillotine, and he had him so wrapped up that had to tap with his feet. He got Tim Elliott so wrapped up that his arms and his legs were all done. So when Tim Elliott was starting to go unconscious, he just started banging his feet on the floor, looking at the ref like with these horrible looking bug eyes until the ref realized he was trying to tap. So yeah, this was a beautiful guillotine. So the best part about this fight happening is the fact that it almost didn't happen. Apparently Marlon Moraes got some type of sickness when he got to Brazil earlier this week and had to go to the bathroom constantly, really terribly, and was super dehydrated because of that. And so this fight almost didn't happen. He had to drink a lot of coconut water and eat food, where normally you would never do that while you're cutting weight. But because of the symptoms of illness, he was able to still lose weight. So he actually ended up being really light for this fight, and not really cutting weight, more just losing weight by being sick, which is obviously not the way to do it. But it worked out for him. He got the win. He did admit on the ESPN Plus post-fight show, he did admit to Dan Hardy and John Gooden that if this fight had gone all 5 rounds, he was a little bit worried about his cardio. So, before we close out here and I head into work, I just want to say something about the ESPN pacing. Thank you. Thank you for rewarding me and all of the other fans who put up with years of the main event walkout being at 1 a.m. on Fox Sports 1. I can't tell you how many times I've been excited all day for a fight, and then by the time the fight's starting, I can barely keep my eyes open, and I end up having to watch it the next morning. It makes being a fan hard. It makes it impossible to get other people to want to be a fan with you. It ruins the sport. And with this new pacing and the way they're going from fight to fight, showing the walkouts, not a million commercial breaks. When the guys hit the octagon, they do the tail of the tape. They don't do another commercial break and then announce them. They are actually making this a good viewing experience, and it means so much to a fan like me, and I'm sure to all the other fans out there, and it just feels like we're finally getting what we deserve. We're finally just getting to enjoy a sport the way all other people enjoy sports. You know, when you're watching a college basketball game, it doesn't take 5 hours for the game to happen. It's normal. They pace it normally. It's a good viewing experience. And now MMA, and more particularly UFC, because Bellator is actually starting to go in the opposite direction, and their pacing is starting to get terrible. So thank you, UFC. Thank you, ESPN. Thank you, ESPN Plus. It was a great viewing experience last night. I had so much fun watching, and I will be back later today for my UFC 234 preview show. Until next time.